Hello everyone, I'm April Ross and we are inside the Beehive, and today I have a very special guest. It is the former retired sheriff of Chambers County, Mr. Sid Lockhart. How are you?
I'm great, but
Well, you've been in law enforcement for over 40 years,
That's
43
correct.
years, is that right?
I think that's correct.
And after 28 years, you've decided to retire.
It's time to. I've enjoyed it. The people have been mighty good to me, and I'm gonna look at another venture and go ahead and retire. And Jeff Nelson has been elected sheriff. He'll do a great job, so it's left in good hands.
Well, let's just take it back. What made you get into law enforcement?
I worked at the West Point Pepperell Mill store right after I got out of high school, and a friend of mine was in the Sheriff's Reserves. His name is Alvin Harris. He's in carpet business in Lafayette. And he kept telling me about it, and I said, well, that sounds good, because I'd enjoyed doing that and been able to help people. So that got me started many years ago. Many years ago, and have enjoyed it ever since.
Have enjoyed it. So you started off as what?
I started off as a reserve deputy. That's
Reserve deputy.
well, you don't get paid for that. You just ride with the deputies to assist them. I did that for a couple of years.
With no pay?
No pay. And there's a lot of them that still do it. They help our deputies out, which is great, and a lot of them go on to be in law enforcement. You see what law enforcement is and sort of decide if that's what you'd like to have for a career. But I started on Christmas night, 2 weeks before I was 21 years old. And that's been a long time ago.
Okay.
And then worked as a reserve a couple of years, then went to work. Sheriff Morgan hired me as a corrections officer, and back then we called him a jailer, to work in the jail. And at that time there was just 4 officers that ran the jail, where now we probably have 35 people running the jail.
Wow. And you guys only had 4?
I only had 4 back then, had 3 1 for each shift, and then 1 when you're off that would fill in for you. The old jail, we'd house maybe 60 to 70 inmates, where now we house 150 to 200. Didn't have a fence around it, but you was also the dispatcher, which was really dangerous for you to be there by yourself. And then if you needed a deputy for something, if you're in a wreck or somebody's fighting or robbed or shooting, we're upstairs making our rounds, checking on inmates, and the phone would ring off the hook. We didn't have the 911 center back then, which was extremely dangerous. And we also had to cover all the valley, because the city valley was not established back then, which there's no way at this day and time 2 deputies could cover it.
Oh, no.
But did corrections officer for a while, and then Lynette Police Department hired me and sent me to the police academy. So I worked at Lynette a few years, then Valley Incorporated into a city, I believe 81, I think, when Valley Incorporated. And there was like 7, 8, maybe 9 of us left Lynette and went to Valley with a new city. Worked there a couple of years, and then Sheriff Morgan offered me a deputy's job, so I came back as a deputy, worked my way up to investigator. Then the chief deputy, Mike Boyd, was here, and he took a job as chief of police at Swanee, Georgia Police Department. Sheriff Morgan offered me the job as chief deputy, so I knew I was going to run. I'd be in a good position then, so I took chief deputy for several years until Sheriff Morgan retired, and at that time ran for sheriff. Ran in 94, was elected in 95. And
Did you always know that I want to run for sheriff?
I didn't at first when I was elected, but as longer, over the years, I decided that. And a good friend of mine, Greg Lovelace, we both ran. We were neighbors. We were kids and played about 3 doors apart. As was coming up, he was the chief jailer and I was the chief deputy. And first time I ran, he ran. And like I said, we were close friends, but never did have any problem. I was fortunate enough to get elected. And a few years later, he took a job as deputy prison commissioner, which he was making a lot more money than the sheriff made, and did that for several years and retired, and we're still good friends. But it's been great. The people, I can't say enough about them, have been great to me, and I try to do what I can for them. I can't stand a politician that at election time they're patting you on the back and shaking your hand, and then the rest of the time you meet them in the store and they don't speak.
Right.
You know, if you're going to be elected by the people, you need to support them, and because you work for the citizens.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I do what I can, even when people get arrested. I want my deputies and my corrections officer to treat them as if they wanted to be treated. Sometimes people won't let you do that.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell them, like an old drunk, he does not want to get in the patrol car, but he's not resisting arrest. He just don't want to go to jail.
Right.
And so, you know, you try to treat people right.
Right.
And always have and always will.
Mm-hmm. After 28 years of being the sheriff, what have you seen over the years?
The crime has increased astronomically. It's you know, we have a lot more drug problems, and it's not just in Chambers County. It's all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough when a mother or father comes in and their child's either in jail or stealing from them, and it's tough. You know, when parents have to go through that. That has probably been the most drastic thing that I've seen over the years. Technology has changed so much. When I first started, I didn't have a siren in my patrol car. Didn't have a cage in my patrol car. And
wow.
The blue lights were so old, and cut them on, and they come on, they just sit there, and you'd have to take your hand and bump them to get them to start turning.
Wow.
So it has changed a lot. And like I said, we had 2 deputies, and now we run anywhere from 3 to 5 deputies per shift. And technology has changed, like I said, so much, which is good for law enforcement.
Because you were telling me at the beginning off the air that when you first started, you had to buy your own gun.
That's correct. Each employee, each deputy had to furnish their own gun, and you know, I might be carrying a .357, you might be carrying a .38, and sometimes you get in a shootout, and luckily you need, I mean, not luckily, but the way it is now, we furnish your weapon, and if you needed some more ammunition, you could just get it from your partner. We've been fortunate. We haven't been in any serious shootouts. I mean, one time when I was at Lynette in the old projects, myself and Ricky Price got shot at late one night.
Wow.
We got a call over there to an apartment. We go knock on the door, and people said, "We didn't call you." And this was 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We start walking back to the car, and then all of a sudden, rounds started hitting in the ground next to you. So I don't believe they were trying to harm us, because they were hitting all around us. Never did. But that's the I guess the worst one. And one time, I had a deputy shot, and I was there close by with him, and I managed to pick him up and put him in the patrol car and head out to the hospital with him. And I guess that'd be the most 2 serious things. And then other than our Deputy Abel that was killed several months ago, assisting Roanoke in a car chase. But other than that, everything's been pretty smooth.
And you've been a sheriff that gives back in the community. You started the rodeo. Now, how did you get started with doing the rodeo every year?
A friend of mine, Eddie Adams, he was a rodeo judge, and like I said, we were close friends, and I was going to rodeos back then. And I was thinking, you know, we need funds that we can buy equipment for the deputies. And back for several years, the county commission was, the budget was pretty tight. And now it's so much better. But when we started this, we managed, well, first thing, like we said, we'd buy weapons for the deputies, we'd buy vests, we bought drug dogs, we bought a dive boat, just so much stuff. Plus it's good, clean family entertainment. And you like to see the kids come out and smile and have a good time, and they interact with our deputies, and which is a good thing. And plus, like I say, we make money off of it to buy equipment, and we've had the special needs rodeo for several years. We started back probably 4 or 5 years ago, where we'd have special needs kids from all over. I mean, from Randolph County, Chambers, Lee County, Russell County, Tallapoosa. We've had up to over 1,000 before, until the COVID hit, and hopefully Jeff will start it back up. It may be our next rodeo, and but it gives back to the community. And you was talking about fundraisers. We've been involved in Lord knows how many for people that, you know, sometimes the house burns, sometimes they have cancer, sometimes it can be anything, but I've never, and I've been in a lot of fundraisers, a lot of them, sometimes pay funeral costs, such that. I've never seen anybody that can organize a fundraiser like this young lady. I am here to tell you, and I don't seem like it might have been a tornado or a flood or something.
Yes, sir.
I don't remember what it was, and I want to say it was out in Texas.
It was in Texas.
I was thinking so, because we took the stuff out there.
Yes, you did. But I forgot all about that.
I hadn't. There's no way I could forget about it. Because what I'm talking about, when we did the past fundraisers, everything went in the back of an 18-wheeler. It didn't matter if clothes come in or baby diapers or whatever. It's all just thrown up in there. This young lady and her friends, I've never seen such. It wasn't going in that trailer unless it was in a box that tells you, you know, washing detergents or baby wipes or water. You ain't gonna put it in that trailer.
Organized.
I've never seen such in my life, but you know how to do it. I won't forget it.
Well, we answered the call. And it was a hurricane that happened in Texas, and you were so generous. I didn't even know what to do. I know people just kept calling, and they kept mentioning the name Terrell Whaley to me. And I've never met him, but I've heard of him in our area, and they were like, "You're the next Terrell Whaley. What are we gonna do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they said, "Call Sheriff Sid Lockhart. You get it going, and he'll get it there." And you certainly did.
Well, y'all, I tell you what, I've never seen such, and I've helped with several of them over the years. But yeah, Terrell, he was good with this kind of stuff, raising money, and you fell right in his footsteps.
Yeah, well, we had several people who gave back that day, just giving back, and I can remember that this bottle of water that came in, and I never forget, it was the Sam's water, and somebody had took all the water bottles out and put them back in, and they all had scriptures on them.
I remember that, didn't you? You just said that.
I started looking at the water, and I'm like, something wrote on them. And then one of the ladies took one out, and it had scriptures.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah. On this, if I never, I always remember that. But you've done, and because we know you in the area as wearing an apron.
Yeah, we try to. There's no telling how many hamburgers we've cooked over the years.
Yes. When COVID came, you were there at the hospital cooking?
Yes, ma'am. We did for the employees. And you know, you need to give back.
Yes,
If people elect you, you need to give back to the community.
And I think that's what people loved so much about you, because you were so accessible. And you were actually able with the people, like you said, they just didn't elect you and I'm the sheriff, I'm in my office, see my deputies. No, you were out there with the people, and when something happened, they were able to call on you.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad you brought that up. This is one of my favorites. One time we were cooking hamburgers at the Lynette Mill parking lot. This lady walked up that was 85 or 90 years old, and she told me where she lived, and she says, "I can't sleep at night for the cars in and out." Said the cussing out in the street. She says that car pull up, somebody walk out, they'll hand the person in the car something, the person in the car hand them something, they drive off. She would not have drove to the courthouse and told me that. She probably wouldn't have called me at the courthouse and told me that, but she came up to that hamburger cooking. I told the drug task force about it, and it wasn't 2 weeks later they busted these people.
Wow.
So, you know, and one old guy that used to run against me said, "Do you want a sheriff or a chef?" Well, you can have both of them.
You can have both of them with you.
You know, and that right there with that little old lady coming up to me, calling me off to the side, wanting some help. You know,
wow.
And that was a good example of that.
Right, because you do cook a lot, and we enjoy it, but you're doing it for a reason.
Absolutely.
For the community.
Absolutely. And something else, when you was talking about the scripture and such, the Girls Ranch is close to my heart. I always have been. It's the Sheriff's Girls Ranch, located over right outside of Camp Hill. And I put the carpet down in the first 2 homes they built over there, like in, I want to say it was like 1970, I think. So I've been involved with them for a long time and always support them. And these are not girls that are over there in trouble, but it's girls that for no reason of their own has no place to live. You know, parents could be in prison or could be dead or something. And one time I was at Walmart, and I went there, was buying something for them. I think it was at Christmas time. They give us a wish list, stuff they want. Get up cash register, and this lady said, and she worked there, she said, all I got's $1, but would you add it to it?
Oh, wow.
And I told the executive director about that, and she's got that $1 sitting on her desk over the girls' ranch.
Wow.
With that written on there. And she shows it to the kids that comes in there. She says, you know, people give their last $1
to you,
you know, for good cause. And so I, you know, that makes me proud to know that this lady at Walmart is making a difference in some of the girls' lives.
Because she saw you making a difference.
Yeah, and it, absolutely. And if it's nothing but prayers, you know, everybody helps.
Right. And it's good to have a sheriff like that, though. So now you decided you were going to retire. How did you come to that decision?
Well, you know, this world's changed so much, and I just thought that I would look into a different avenue or some other place to go to work and bring some new blood in. And like I said, Jeff Nelson got elected. He'll make changes. And anything after a long time, you know, needs to have changes made, I think, and new blood, whether it's the sheriff or the governor or the president. You know, just you need to have changes every now and then. And Jeff's always said, as long as I ran, he wouldn't run against me. But I just felt like it was time.
It was time. And you recently had a retirement celebration.
Yesterday.
People came from all over.
Absolutely.
Tell us what that meant to you, that you saw a lot of people who came.
It was overwhelming because it was people I haven't seen in a while. I was shocked to see several of them get out, because one of them hadn't been long got out of the hospital, and he's walking with a walking cane, and he took his time. And then, like I told you earlier, there was a sheriff in Otago County that just got reelected and sent me a card about 2 weeks ago, my retirement. But he found out he had cancer, and he passed away, and the funeral was last Friday. His wife took time, you know, to come out of Otago County up yesterday evening to come to the retirement. And, you know, I wouldn't expected her in the world to come that far, but especially after her husband just had died and they buried her. So
Last Friday.
Last Friday.
And she was there.
And it well, it came up sudden, like in the last month or so, that he had cancer, and so it came up quick. But she was there. You know, so people like that really touched me. It was so good to see other people, but especially people like that you know, they're going through tough times right now, and to take time out of their day, you know, to come see me. But it was great. Saw the Troup County Sheriff, the Tallapoosa County Sheriff, and the Lee County Sheriff was up. But it was great, and good food. Terry's Mill Village Cafe. They always do a great
that
job.
Punch was good too.
Oh, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
It was.
It was all good.
What were some of the things that people had to say to you?
Just different things that I've done for some of them over the years that I had forgotten about. You know, that they haven't forgotten, and I wish I had a list of little things that they say, but then they tell me they miss me. And then on Facebook, I mean, I've had bookhoodles of congratulations and stuff, but several of them tell me things that over the years that I've helped out, and that I didn't remember, and it really touches you to know that it really things made a difference in people's lives.
Now, recently, and you brought up his name earlier, Deputy Abel, who passed away.
Absolutely.
And you all have made it a quest, I would say, to keep his legacy and his name alive.
Absolutely. He was a young man, I want to say 22 years old. I had my two of my supervisors in jail come to me, I guess it's been about 2 years ago now, and said, we've got a young man in the jail that you need to take a look at. he wasn't in jail. He worked in the jail.
Uh-huh.
But said, you need to take a look at it. So I called him. I had an opening. I called him up there one day and was talking to him and was really impressed. And I always like to know their family background, because if they're married, I want to know, make sure their wife is supportive of you this, because sometimes you'll be going to the academy if you're not certified for like 16 weeks, and that makes a difference, you know.
Yeah.
You know, wife sitting at home by herself.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not married, had a fiance, and which she was pregnant at the time that they had the accident. But anyway, he said his father had always grown up in the military. He'd grown up in the military. His father's military, and wanted him to go in the military, but he wanted to go in law enforcement. He wanted to be able to get out and help people. And this was a clean-cut young man. You just wouldn't believe. I mean, his uniform was to a T. Kept his car clean. I always, every morning, look on Facebook to see whose birthday it is, something, and there was a picture of him, the deputy in uniform, getting ready to go to work, and his fiance's child, which wasn't his child, but he treated my deputy like his father.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the living room floor doing push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that morning.
That morning.
And then that afternoon, Roanoke was chasing a car into the county, and he just happened to be close by, and he was backing him up, and he met the chase, and he had to turn around, and they were headed toward LaGrange on what's known as 109 in LaGrange, County 278 in Chambers County. And when they went around this curve, I guess the two vehicles had stopped when the car they was chasing and the deputy was coming, and they didn't realize there's another deputy coming. So by that time they started off, and he come over the hill, was nowhere to go because there was a truck coming, and so he hit the woods. And we've had letters and all sorts of memorabilia come from throughout the United States. People's built like, you know, wooden flags and just so much stuff that we give to his fiance.
Yes.
That way, when the baby grows up, she can, you know, show this to the baby and his memory and pictures and stuff. And you know, we want to keep
interviewing you after that seemed like one of the worst times for you.
It was.
He was so young.
He was. He was, and it's, you know, you hate for any young person to get killed, but to happen that way, which was senseless.
Yes.
You know, for this car to be trying to avoid law enforcement.
So now we're moving on, and Jeff Nelson is now the new sheriff in town. What has been your advice? Have you talked to him?
I have.
Or given him any advice?
I've tried to give him maybe suggestions on some things.
Okay.
He's a retired state trooper, so he knows law enforcement. He's been state trooper his whole life. I think been in Chambers County. He's worked security for the governor. He's worked ABI and road trooper and several other. Some things that he's going to be unaware of, but as far as I know, he's keeping all of my employees. So a lot of my guys can show him things that has to come up. I did have him a week after the election. You have to count the provisional ballots, and you have to do it like the day after the election. You have to take the ballots to the registrar's office, but then the next Tuesday at 12 o'clock you have to be there with the probate judge and the circuit clerk and count the ballots. So I invited him to that so he'd see exactly what you have to do. Another thing most people unaware of, in Alabama, a sheriff, if you don't have any family and you're getting elderly, the sheriff is your guardian. So I've had about 25 people that I've had to be the guardian over the years, and it keeps it's time consuming. You have to. I have had some you have to pay the bills, but you have to get them into nursing homes or assisted living, or if they need a TV, you have to go out and buy it for them, and such as that. I've gotten Jeff involved in that because that's just about a full-time job.
I would imagine. And
So,
we didn't know that the sheriff had to
no,
do all of that.
it's amazing that a lot of things people don't know what they have to do.
Right. So what's the next step for you?
I'm gonna go to work for Kimball's here in LaGrange.
Okay.
It's a great company. They've first time I met them, they was on 85 before Kia was built 15, 20 years ago. They had some leftover stuff that they were going to donate to the girls' ranch. So I met them on the interstate and picked up stuff to carry to the girls' ranch. They have been supporting them ever since. Every time we're doing kind of fundraiser, they're involved. And so I'm going to go to work as a salesman. We have jail commissaries in the jails where if you want to buy potato chips or you don't like our soap or whatever, the inmates can order them online, and then they deliver it from Kimball's over there, which Kimball's has to make money off of it. The jail gets a certain percentage off of it. And I'm going to be working Alabama and Georgia, and I look forward to it, because like I say, there's some good people.
Well, Sheriff Sid Lockhart, we have certainly enjoyed our time with you. Many blessings to you and Miss Sharon. And I thought you were going to go work for Captain D's. That's what I thought.
I couldn't work for her. She's a slave driver. But don't nobody tell her that.
Don't tell her that. I know she said she had you doing broccoli, and you said no way.
Yeah, one Saturday she had me weighing broccoli. I don't even like broccoli. You had to take it out of the box and put it in a bag and put it up on the scales and get 4 ounces. And I said, you don't weigh green beans, you don't weigh anything else. Why do you weigh broccoli? So that's a little running joke. But
so you found you something to do.
I did. I found me something.
Before you have a honey-do list.
Absolutely. Plus, I get to see a lot of my sheriff friends in Alabama, make new sheriff friends in Georgia. You know, so I'll still be involved in law enforcement.
All right. Well, many blessings to you. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. This is April Ross with Inside the Beehive with our very own, almost former Sheriff Sid Lockhart of Chambers County.
Thank you, April.
Sid's been in office 28 years. He went in office about the same time I went in office as school superintendent. And Sid and I go back a long ways, and he's done a good job. He's worked hard, and I just wish him well in his retirement. I know he better go to work with somebody he wants to go to work for, and not his wife who's going to put him to work at Captain D's as cook.
Just like I said to my longtime friend, I wish you well on your retirement. Actually, Sheriff Lockhart was the one that got me into law enforcement. And I've been around ever since he got me into it, got my first job. And I just want to say, I wish you the best, and I know you're going to enjoy your retirement.
I have worked for Sid since 1999 now. So 24 years. And he is definitely going to be missed. We love him, and we'll still be there for him if he needs anything. He knows this. And I don't know, we're going to miss him definitely.
Sheriff, I can't thank you enough for when you hired me in 2012. It's been an absolute pleasure working for you. I've always looked up to you and respected you. You will be very missed, and it's just been a pleasure working for you.
Sid has been around for 28 years as sheriff in this county. He's been in there and he's done it all. And I'm coming in new to this. I've got a lot of state trooper in me. I've got to break a lot of that, but I've been in law enforcement for 31 years. Sid's been in law enforcement for almost 40 years. He was always one of those when I had questions and I needed advice, I could go to him. I could call him on the phone, I could go by his house, I could go by the office, and he's never steered me wrong. He's always told me the truth, even if I didn't want to hear it. He's always been honest with me and straightforward with me, and I just need him to stay where I can still call him. I keep telling all the people, you know, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to do my best to do the best job I can. The number one thing is we got to continue to grow and progress and to make this community better and better.